You know, it seems like today there's so much strife in the world and amongst relationships. But did you know that you can actually have strife with yourself? That's right. Let's find out more on how to fix it here on Choosing Your Future.
Life is not about you living in the past. It's not about you living in fear. It's about your dreams. It's about what you believe. Life is about you choosing your future.
Lessons for the future begin here. Hello, welcome to the Choosing Your Future podcast, and it's a pleasure being with you as always. And thank you so much for listening. We have people listening around the world, and we're grateful for that. And we encourage you to go to the website, choosingyourfuture.org. There's all kinds of stuff on there you can look at, listen to, other podcasts you can connect to. And there's also, like I said, just all kinds of stuff there. You can go on social media and check us out. And it's always an honor for you to listen to us. We don't take that for granted. And if you like the podcast and you think somebody might like it, please share it. You can share it on any of the social medias. And, of course, we're listened to on several different methods of podcasting venues. So, again, thank you so much, and it's an honor. Let's jump right into this because most people, when they think about strife, they mainly think about it with other people. In other words, we always know there's strife with others, and we're going to talk about that. But there's also a strife that happens within ourselves. In other words, we're at strife with our own selves. I don't think we think about it much or we talk about it much. And before we deal with strife with others, let's deal with the strife within ourselves. And by definition, if you look at Webster's dictionary, strife is bitter, sometimes violent conflict or dissension. It can also mean an exertion of or contention. Some other terms for strife is discord, conflict, contention, dissension, variance. And these are states or conditions marked by a lack of agreement or harmony. You're not in harmony with yourself. You're not in agreement with yourself. How does that happen? Well, you doubt yourself. You don't have confidence in yourself. The other thing is discord. It implies like an intrinsic or essential lack of harmony, producing quarreling. There is no peace, okay, on the inside. Another form, which is conflict, is usually stresses the action or forces in opposition, but creates applications that implies irreconcilable issues or desires. You can't ever reconcile anything in yourself. And so what happens is sometimes we have this fight on the inside of us. Now, there's a good kind of fight, okay, which is where we are trying to do the right thing. There's struggles. Paul even said in the Bible, there's struggles on the inside of us. And these struggles are he calls it a warring member in my flesh. And what is it doing? The flesh may be wanting to do something that's contrary to biblical things or moral things. Let me give you a classic example. Maybe we want to be angry at somebody or bitter at somebody. And so, but yet we know we have to forgive. So there's this constant battle on the inside of us. Okay. But then there's this other kind of strife that happens to where we are very contentious with ourselves, that we don't allow ourselves to be forgiven. We say the worst about ourselves. We look at ourselves as beneath and not above. We have this negative view. That in essence is what strife does. It creates this conflict that I am not good enough or things aren't good enough. Okay. Now, what's crazy about strife is whether it's personal strife or strife against others, it always affects the mouth. Okay. Meaning that you are always going to say things that aren't right, negative things, harsh things about yourself. So where there's strife, there's always an evil inclination towards something, and that evil inclination will come out in words. It will come out in actions, and so let me put it to you. I remember not too long ago, I'm working on a book, and I was having my wife proofread it, and there were some mistakes in there, and I was pretty angry, not at her, at me. And little did I know, I was starting to create a strife within myself to the point that I wasn't taking it out on her or anybody else, but I was taking it out on myself. How could I have been so stupid to make a mistake? And all of a sudden it dawned on me, 24 hours later, I'm creating strife within myself. And it's affecting my attitude. It's affecting how I talk about myself. It's affecting how I feel about myself. Now, the problem is what starts out as strife internally carries over to strife in other people. And if you don't check yourself, then what's going to happen is eventually the internal strife that you have with yourself is going to overflow. And now you're going to start having strife with other people. And I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% positive here, that the one reason why so many people have strife with other people is because they have strife within themselves. I'm a firm believer that we got to look inside ourselves first. And so the strife with other people, the dislike with other people, and the quarrelsome with other people is because we're quarreling with ourselves, and we got to stop doing that. Got to stop thinking negative about yourself. And, there's so many people that feel guilt-ridden over sin, and they feel guilt-ridden over mistakes, and look, you can get over it. You can overcome it. You can find forgiveness, but you've got to recognize what you have in you that needs to be dealt with, which is strife. And so what I want us to do is I want us to look at some triggers that cause strife. Okay. For instance, there are many things that are a result of strife. Okay. And I'm going to give you just a few. Okay. So we're going to go to the scriptures and take a look at a few things very quickly. And then we're going to start talking about how strife works on the brain and the emotions and the physical body even. And we may have to talk about that in the next episode, but let's look at a few things that cause strife. One of the first things that cause strife is hate. And so Proverbs 10:12 says, hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. Okay? So if you're a person who hates yourself, okay, then you're going to have some strife issues, and you're going to find it hard to even forgive yourself. We don't think about strife as being something that's personal. We think about it as strife relating to others. That's easy. I mean, people are always quarreling with one another, hate one another. And we use the term, sometimes concerning ourselves, hating ourselves. We use that a lot. But we don't look at it as a form of strife. Okay? And so strife is headed up by hate. Well, if you can hate yourself, then you can have strife within yourself. And if love covers all offenses and you don't receive that because of the hate and the strife in yourself, then you're going to have trouble forgiving yourself. And so there's another one, Proverbs 22, 12, talks about how a scoffer or a doubter is the cause of strife. Now, before I read this, let me tell you what a scoffer is. One of the things the Bible and Proverbs tells us to stay away from and not even to give instruction to is a scoffer. And the question is why? Well, a scoffer is a person who doubts. And when a scoffer, a scoffer is not a person who will receive anything, okay, because they doubt things. And so Proverbs distinctly says, look, don't even try to change a scoffer. They're hard to change. Now, in Proverbs, you'll find three things: the simpleton, the scoffer, and the fool. The simpleton is a person who's easily led astray. The scoffer is the one who mocks things and doubts things. And then the fool is the one who just totally rejects things. So if you look at Proverbs chapter 1, I think it's verse 4, it says, so that the simple one may find wisdom. We want to turn simpleton people into wise people. That's the whole concept of Proverbs. Well, here we find that a scoffer, a person who doubts, is hard to change. So let's look at Proverbs 22 and see what it says, because I'm telling you that there is an issue here, that too many people doubt themselves. They doubt God. They doubt who they are and what they are. So let's read it. Proverbs 22:10 says, drive out a scoffer and strife will go out, and quarreling and abuse will cease. I'll read it one more time. Drive out a scoffer and strife will go out, and quarreling and abuse will cease. That's pretty important. When you drive out the doubting person, we've all had situations, maybe working on a project, or, you say, hey, let's do this. And the person, that'll never work. That'll never, that didn't work. But notice when you get them out of the way, it actually works. Sometimes you got to get yourself out of the way, get the doubting out of the way, get the scoffing out of the way. If you drive that out of yourself, then you know what? The things in you, the dreams in you, and the hopes in you, and the good things in you will come around. When you drive out the scoffer, and strife will go out with it. So doubt creates, or scoffing creates, strife. There's things that maybe God is pulling you to do, but because of the fact you are scoffing yourself, doubting yourself, you're creating conflict with the purpose and all the things that God has for your life. Okay? And so what we see here, if you throw the scoffer out, drive it out, drive the doubt out, then the next thing that's going to happen, the strife is going to go out with it, and all the quarreling and abuse that you do to yourself is going to stop. You've got to believe God's for you, not against you. You've got to believe that God loves you. You've got to believe, yes, you're valuable to God. In one of the last episodes, we talked about how you're divine. And what does that mean? You're of God, from God. So every day you have is a gift. Every moment is a gift from God. And there's not anything in your life that you're dealing with that can't be overcome. Even though it looks dark and you want to scoff your life or doubt your life, and all you're going to do is create more strife in your life, and all you're going to do is complain and quarrel about your life. But you've got to understand, you've got the ability to get through it. Okay? Through grace, you can get through it. Let's look at one more. And there's several. We'll get to some of these in the next episode. A dishonest man. Dishonesty. Proverbs 16:28 says, a dishonest man spreads strife, and a whisper separates close friends. So notice what happens is a dishonest person has strife. Sometimes if we're not honest with ourselves, we have a tendency to cause strife within ourselves. Now, there's people who think they're great, and they're not. They lack a little bit in humility. But the great thing about honesty, when you say, I am that person, I am that man, but then you don't carry it over into a hate. You don't carry it over into, man, I'm not worth anything. See, that's not being honest either, because the truth is God loves you. Christ took care of that on the cross. And so the great thing about it is we can find grace even when we're truthful about ourselves. We can find mercy. And you know what? Our words start to change. Instead of, God hates me, God loves me. Get the strife out of you.
Thank you for listening to the Choosing Your Future podcast. For more information, please visit choosingyourfuture.org. That's choosingyourfuture.org.